Stuff.
Good poetry. And I went, her energy and her attitude and her look at life, like so many of you when I met you and say, hey, I like that. This is one of those women that when you hear her talk, you go, I like that. I like what she has to say. Last night, I was lucky enough to have she and I stay at our house, and it was like we were on a sleepover. We didn't get to sleep. And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And we talked about everything that was going on and came to the conclusion that God is still here. And so many people think we've lost that. And I asked Joyce to talk today because I hear stories of her wonderful father, Joseph, and her growing up in Mississippi. And I thought this is a good chance for us to have Reverend Joyce Brown. Would you come join us?
Hey! Woo!
Yes, I did. I know. Who is that?
I want to know her.
I don't know that person. It's always a joy to come over the hill to make that little journey that the night before it seems like it's a great trek. Like, okay, who thought of this? We did. And we start planning it in the middle of the week so that we don't chicken out on Saturday night. And we wake up and go, it feels good, let's go. And you're rolling out of bed and you hit the road and you get here and everybody hugs you. You're like, oh, this is a good reason to go over there. And happy to see you and tells you the truth. I don't hear pablum praise. Do y'all know what pablum praise means? I make it up as I go through life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't mean it, but you say it. You don't. No one here has ever said anything to me that I felt you didn't mean. So, now that I've said that to you, I was born June 7th, 1949. And according to the story, my father, Joseph, that I learned to call Daddy. So, Daddy got in the Model T, drove down the road to get the midwife, because my sister, who was about 10 or 11, was standing vigil with our mother giving birth to me. It was a pouring rain. What they forgot to tell me is that that rain had been accompanied by black clouds rolling on the ground.
On the ground?
So I thought that was a tornado myself. And that midwife came, I showed up, I had, they called the veil over my eyes. And I was here. The midwife named me Joyce C. That's my name, Joyce with a big C. And that was how I got here. The story is that a little later on, the family decided that I was going to be either wise or foolish because I had the veil. So there was a lot of waiting to see what that was going to become. And I knew already, by the time I was 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, I had a good sense of who I was, even though my family thought I was a little weird at that time.
Well, that was a good sense of who you were.
I was weird. And the champion for me was my daddy in the midst of everything. I always felt with him that I was okay. I was a little black kid running around, you know, with a herniated belly button. They used to put bow dollars on it to flatten it. Didn't work. But I had money. My siblings would try to rip it off and go to the store. always there no matter what. It was very important to me. As I was sharing with Ronnie, I grew up in a family of 12 people, and the only one that cared for me was my father, Daddy. I did not have that sense of belonging. I always felt like I was someplace I didn't want to be. I used to ask the question, who are these people? I didn't get it, but Daddy got it, so I could talk to him about anything, everything. He would tell me stories to make sense of what was happening to me, because I didn't get it. And he would tell me the most amazing stories. I come to discover that nobody seemed to remember them. So one day I said, either you have a very good imagination, or he told you these things. He taught me how to be myself. That's not easy when you have 10 children and a mother that doesn't seem to care. I'm telling you my truth. And I'm learning how to be a little girl. But I don't have a mother who's teaching me this. My father is. It was very fascinating. When I look back on it, when I got a little older, I said, and I would tell other women, they said, what? And they give me the funniest looks. I think they thought maybe he was doing things he shouldn't be doing. You know, molesting stuff. Never. Because I would tell you if he did. Never. So he taught me how to be a little girl. He told me stories. My father taught me about my menstrual cycle.
Oh.
He taught me about dandy boys and starched white shirts too. Mm-hmm. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Which one?
See that shirt? I don't know what it is about that shirt. Especially when they were going to church. They always had on starched white shirts. Never blue, no pink was to be found. That was the blasphemous, the pink shirt. Always white. And he told me all about them. He told me stories about how to deal with being myself when I didn't feel right about being me. I always wanted to go be by myself. I could not handle being around my family. The confusion and the noise that came from their thoughts. You know, you think you're crazy sometimes, because I understood what crazy was. They were always reminding me. I decided not to believe them, because what else are you going to do? I always heard, girl, what's wrong with you? And I would look at them and I'm thinking, but I'm not the one that's standing there saying these things. But when I would say, why are you saying this? There was something wrong with me. So I learned how not to speak unless I was talking to my father. It's very important. You need an ally. So when you don't have an ally.
Were you the only girl?
No, I have, there was 4 girls, 6 brothers. There's 2 surviving siblings, girls.
Was he the same with the other girls as with you?
No,
No.
no,
Interesting.
no. They were more towards our mother's side of way of looking at things.
I see.
And I
Okay.
stood out like that thumb,
Got it.
and he stood out like the other thumb. See? And so when you put it all together, he understood me. So I didn't say anything to him that was considered odd or strange. And he would talk to me about whatever it was. So when a man, a father, a daddy, teaches his daughter about her period, this is an amazing thing. He taught me how to burn the cloths I wore, because I didn't have napkins. We had homemade cloths. He taught me how to ritualistically go out and dig a hole and bury them. And I was to be the only one to do this. And he taught me how to do this. When I shared this with other women, they said, no, that's not the way it's done. I said, yeah, that's the way it was done. And so he taught me the importance of being myself. When I turned a certain age, I think it was about 8, around 9, my father stopped giving me baths. I didn't know what that was about. He would not give me a bath anymore. And he says, "You big enough now." And I said, okay. And I had to go out and pump the water. I had to go pump the water. I had to heat the water on the stove and pour the water in the tub and take a bath. But I didn't know why he wouldn't give me a bath anymore. That was his way of respecting me as a little girl. He did not violate my space. From then on, my father would never enter a room that any of his daughters were in without knocking. But I was at home the longest. So up until his death, I was 22. If he wanted to say something to me and I was in another room, he would knock and call my name. He would never open a door. You did not open the door on women folk, even if they were your children. So he taught me a lot about respect and dignity, and that was very important to me. But he taught me through stories, he taught me through humor, and he taught me through, as he would say, he had to go zern it. I never knew who he was zerning with, but he'd go zern it. I would ask questions. He said, "Well, now, I have to go zern that." And then he would, like a week later, he would remind me that I'd asked a question. I wanted to know why it was when I woke up in the morning that I had slobber all over my face. And he looked at me and smiled, and I said, "Oh, story is coming." He told me he had to zern it, and he went off and zerned it. He came back and he taught me a lesson around truth and not lying. He told me, he said, "Do you remember old Dick?" Well, we had a Shire horse named Dick, big feet, and he was always slobbering when they put the big bit in his mouth. I said, "Yes." He says, "Well then, I'm going to tell you the story, why you're slobbering like old Dick." He said, "When you go to bed at night, when you lay down," he says, "a witch comes in." She flies in on her broom, and she takes her skin off and puts it on the bedpost. And then she gets on your back and rides you like old Dick, and you slobber. I wanted to know why. Yeah, what to do, because you could ask him questions. I said, "Well, oh, Daddy, what do I do?" He says, "Well, now, this is what you do." He says, "You get a sifter, flour sifter, put it beside the bed. When the witch comes in, she takes her skin off and put it on the bedpost. But being a witch, when she looks down and sees the sifter, she has to count the holes in it." That's a witch for you. And so while she's counting the holes in the sifter, you take the salt shaker and you put salt in her skin. You see, you're ready for her. You know she's coming, right? There's a moral to it. So I said, okay. He says, daylight will come because she's still trying to count the holes in the sifter. She puts her skin back on, and then she starts to wiggle. Skin, don't you know me? Skin, don't you know me? And she scratches and wiggles and says, skin, 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 don't you know me? And then she gets on her broom and flies away, and she will never come back. I said, well, why did she come back in the first place? Why she came? He says, sometimes when children are bad, the witch will come to teach them. So my father taught me not to lie to him. And so I never did. Because I didn't want that witch. I didn't lie to him in the first place, as far as I could tell. But I sure in the heck didn't want that witch coming back. And so he taught me the truth around truth.
Did you still slobber?
No, the slobbering stopped. It stopped. No more witches, no more slobbering.
Wow.
And so the teachings were very powerful. My father was a magical man to me. No matter what I asked, he had a solution. No matter what I wanted to know, he could teach me. He approved me not speaking for a whole day one time. We were out in the fields hoeing cotton, and I was about 10, and the other girls always wanted to talk. Just talk. They never stopped. Always talking about someone else, always negative, and on and on and on. And I just didn't want to do it. And I told my daddy I didn't want to talk anymore. And he says, well, how long? I said, for a day. And he said, okay. He says, you have until tomorrow this time not to talk. He went home and he told our mother that I was not to be, I wasn't going to talk. And no one was to ask me questions that I had to answer. He would tell me what to do and I'd go do it. And the only one that's going to tell me what to do was him and our mother. And so for a full day, I didn't speak. It was the most beautiful thing that he understood that I needed silence. When you live in a household of 12 people, there is no silence. And I found silence by getting up in the morning an hour before everyone, and I would sit outside where it was quiet. And he was up. And he'd come by and he'd look at me, and he'd smile, and he'd keep going. He did not violate my space or my silence. He taught me the value of being who I am, being in silence, and it was okay. He taught me so many things, and it's almost, it's not easy to tell you all he taught me. I write it down, I've written down the stories, there's so many of them, and all of them he taught me through not only his life, but through what we were living. You couldn't have, just incredible oppression. It was a different form of slavery. You lived, and we gardened. We had like 5 or 6 gardens where we grew everything, and the animals and all of this. You made your way because there was no other way to do it. And so he could do all these amazing things he could do. He taught me how to tan hides. He taught me how to butcher. He taught me how to watch what he did when he rebuilt chairs without nails, things like that. And this was my daddy, and I'm watching him, and I'm wondering, how does he know how to do that? Because he only went to school until 3rd grade, right? But yet, he could do all these things. And he taught me because I wanted to know. I didn't see anyone else in the family wanting to know. They were busy being teenagers, big siblings. So I want to tell you the final story. One day he came home, I must have been about 4, and I was sad. And he wanted to know what I was sad about. I said, the big kids won't let me play. And he said, they won't let you play. I said, no. It hurt my feelings so bad because I wanted to play King of the Hill, and they wouldn't let me. So my father said, come with me. Now he's about 6'4", and he's kind of bow-legged. Big old barrel-chested fellow. Tall, okay. And he started running. And I said, uh-oh. I said, Daddy, he was running, and he was running, and he was running. And there was this big hill down the road, right? So just before he got to the hill, I dashed through his legs to the top. And I said, I beat you, Daddy, I beat you. And he said, yes. No one was there for me, no matter what, except for him. Nobody. And my siblings don't even know this. I can tell you the truth. My surviving siblings do not know about my relationship with my father, who became the daddy. They do not know because they didn't have this relationship. I was observing. I watched what was going on. They were doing all kinds of things, but he was the one to go to. He was the one that understood me when I said I don't want to go to school anymore when I was a little girl. So he'd take me fishing. I had to catch those freaking crickets. Sorry about the freaking word. I had to go catch the crickets. Censorship. And the crickets in the morning, they're slow. And the grass is wet. So I was out there flinging myself through the grass, catching crickets. And then I had to go to the worm weed. There was a weed that had worms in it. Larvae. Some bug laid it in there. And get those. I had to get all the fishing equipment together. And then we would walk over to a lake miles away and go fishing all
No
day.
wonder he wanted you to go fishing with him.
And he would laugh. I can still see him laughing as I'm flailing catching those crickets. No other children in the whole school I was in could share this story with me when they wanted to know where was I. Were you sick? I said, no, I went fishing. And they said, what do you mean you went fishing? It was like Monday. You know, you never went fishing. No, you never went fishing on Friday or Monday. You could go Tuesday through Thursday. He didn't want you to have, a 3-day. You couldn't have a 3-day weekend. You had to go to school. And he did this with all the children. But they did not appreciate it. They just didn't have to go to school. And they complained about everything. They would say, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to get the worms. I didn't want to do this. And that was okay. I could not be any place other than with him. And he told me about the haints, i.e. ghosts. He told me about the stories of him growing up. He told me all of these amazing stories that I have. And all my siblings could tell me is they complain because they just want to stay around the house and do nothing and shoot marbles. I wanted to go with him because by the time we got to the lake, he will have told me something I didn't know before. And on the way home, all the people would come out and we'd give them the fish. And we'd bring enough home. And he told me about all the haunted places and whose child that was. And all the things that I would see. And I'd ask him, I said, well, do you see that? He said, yes. And so there's somebody's daughter standing there. All of these things he validated in me that I wasn't insane, that I wasn't crazy, because I could see. So I just wanted to share that with you, these bits and pieces that this remarkable man is still with me. People always say, well, where is he? I said, well, he died when I was 22. And they said, really? I said, but he's here. You don't have to completely remove someone from your life because they're not physically with you. It's okay to still care and love for them and to remember the wisdom they gave you, that it was okay for me to be me. It was just perfectly fine for me to be Joyce C. Thank you.
Oh.